girls, we are live from Zivanza, a clinic in the healthcare city, and we are bringing you a very wonderful campaign in association with Dr. Tulika here, which is the We Care campaign. We Care is our initiative to tell you that mental health is important, that having a mental illness is not a stigma, and it is for that reason I'm here live with Dr. Tulika, talking about some of the most commonly faced mental health issues that we women face. But before we start, I'd like to welcome Dr. Tulika to our show.
Hello.
And Dr. Tulika, it will be great if we can have a little introduction about your background. I know you have tons of experience behind you, but I think our audience will really benefit from that.
Yes, so I completed my graduation, my MBBS from India, and following that I did my MD in psychiatry from NIMHANS, Bengaluru. Then following that I was working as a senior resident in psychiatry at AIIMS, New Delhi. And now I'm here working with Zivanza, and I'm working at Millennium Medical Center, and I run my psychiatry practice.
Very good. Very welcome to the show. I think I'm going to kick off with one issues that we as women face related to mental health.
So, in terms of mental health, if you look at the statistics, firstly, there is a higher prevalence of unipolar depression in women, there is a higher prevalence of somatic disorders in women, there's a higher prevalence of anxiety disorders in women. This is just the statistics, but then a lot of adjustment issues, a lot of marital issues are some of the common things that women report.
Right. And why is mental health so important for us women? Why should we be focusing on it essentially?
Well, Rima, one thing I have seen is that if so a lot of caretaking and household responsibilities, parental responsibilities, the lion's share is done by women.
Yeah.
And if the woman is not healthy, if her mental health is not good, it impacts her in every domain.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's not just her work, it's also her family that will be affected, her children will be affected. It affects their relationships. So it impacts women in multiple ways. So I think women's mental health becomes important because it is also the mental health of the family.
Yes. I'm going to do a quick sound check because I can see a lot of people watching us. Can you say a big hello so that we know we are audible, we are visible, you can hear us okay? Just to make sure we can continue the conversation. Also, I'm sure Dr. Tulika will be very happy to take any questions that our audience has. So if you are facing any issues, if you have any questions related to women's health, please feel free to come forward and we look forward to that. Hi Ashifa, thank you so much for the hello. I'm looking forward to hearing from more girls watching us. Please, you have to say hello.
And I hope everybody is able to hear me.
Yes. Are you able to hear Dr. Tulika properly?
Otherwise, I'll be louder.
Thank you, Ashifa. Thanks so much. Girls, I want to hear more hellos. I can see more people watching us, so I definitely need. There we go. Thank you, Rashmi. Thank you so much. And if you have any questions, please do feel free to write them in the comment box, and I'm sure we'll take them up as we go. Thank you. So my next question is around gender stereotypes, right? What are the gender stereotypes that we as women face, especially related to mental health, that we need to keep in mind?
So actually, gender stereotyping is one of the more common reasons why women do face more mental health challenges. So it starts from the way we are socialized and the way we are parented from a very young age, and it leads to us not being able to, so a lack of autonomy, a sense of lack of autonomy, inequality in wages, inequality in social capital. This is how it actually translates to psychological distress later on, and it can present as mental health issues.
And I can feel, mental health can be social, can be due to social, can be due to family reasons, can be due to financial stress, can be due to stress at job, right? So we women actually end up facing stress from a lot of different directions.
A lot of domains.
Yes. And I think that affects us, and I mean we are very strong internally, but kabhi stress aa jata hai, and especially in Dubai life, it is stressful, whatever you to say. That is because we are all away from home, right? So we don't have the families, the support that you have in India. The support system doesn't exist here. So I'm sure you would have seen from your experience a lot more of this.
So I have seen a lot of times, especially single parents or
Hmm.
even two-parent families, double-income families,
Yes.
they feel really unsupported when it comes to childcare. That is one of the things that stresses
Yes.
families
Yes.
a lot.
Yes.
And even and then making making sacrifices in one domain or the other, that takes a toll on your mental health in the long run. So how do you make a balance of these things?
Yes.
How do you work on a work-life balance? How do you balance all your responsibilities together?
Yes, and especially if I think in Dubai, if women need to work, right? We have to somebody has to take care of the kids, and finding good health is so difficult
Yes.
here. Like somebody you can trust to leave your kids with is like, I think it's a stress issue in itself, essentially. But again, moving on to the next question, doctor, why is it difficult to talk about mental health issues?
So there is a lot of stigma around mental health. There is a lot of negative stereotyping that is done around mental health. So if somebody talks about experiencing or having a mental health issue or even going to a psychiatrist,
Yeah.
it is said, oh, so there must be something really wrong with you.
But is there something really wrong if I come to you?
It's as wrong as having diabetes, I would say.
Yes.
So
Yes.
if you have diabetes, nobody comes around telling you there's something really wrong with you. You do have there's something wrong with you in the sense you have an illness
Yes.
and you'll have treatment for it.
Yes.
So, but you won't tell a person with diabetes don't get treated, right?
Exactly.
Don't
And,
get the
and you
help
could
you deserve.
openly tell people कि sugar है तो दवाई खानी है.
दवाई खानी है और लाइफस्टाइल भी चेंज करनी
Yes.
है एंड कुछ चेंजेस अपने लाइफ में भी लानी है.
Yes.
All of those things have to be done.
Yeah.
So why that resistance when it comes to mental health? Because somewhere we feel that we can control our minds.
Okay.
We don't think of it as the brain is also an organ of the body. So the mental health, all our functions, our emotions are also a function of our brain. And if our,
Yes.
if our emotional health is not good, it means that it is something that's going wrong
Yes.
in the mind.
Yes.
And it needs to be treated.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be with medication always. It can be with talk therapy. It can be with psychotherapy. It can be with brain stimulation techniques. So there are different modalities of treatment.
Okay. Okay.
So there is medicines, of course.
Yes.
There is psychotherapy, which has very good evidence of working. Both
Right.
of them have very good evidence of working in psychiatric illnesses as
Okay.
well as in other mental health conditions.
Yes.
Sometimes there are a lot of medical issues that cause mental health conditions. For example, thyroid disorders, they present with a lot of mental health comorbidity.
Okay.
Diabetes itself, hypertension,
Yeah.
they present with a lot of mental health comorbidity.
Wow.
So these things need to be explored. They need a lot of, so almost the rates of psychiatric comorbidity in hypertension and diabetes is as high as 30%.
Wow. Okay.
And they are untreated. And
Yes.
if your mental health condition is not treated, your diabetes will not get controlled. So it's multifactorial. So that's the thing, that your mind and your body is not two separate organs.
Yes. Exactly.
They all work together.
They all have to work together, isn't it? So what are the ways to improve your mental health, doctor? What can we do to make sure we are working, just like exercise करनी, weight lose करने के लिए exercise करनी होती है, mental health को fit रखने के लिए हमें क्या करना चाहिए?
So I think the most important thing is being self-aware. Being
Okay.
aware that yes, something is not okay. I need to address this. Why am I feeling this way? This is not so keeping a checking with yourself that maybe something is not okay. If I'm not getting good sleep, if I'm not, I don't feel like eating anymore. If I'm feeling low, I'm not feeling motivated.
Yeah.
I'm isolating myself. If I'm experiencing any of these symptoms, could there be something not okay with me?
Right.
So a lot of time, people are not able to make the connection that behavioral changes
Yes.
are could be a symptom.
Right.
They
Yes.
just think behavior is changing. People around you will also
Are
see that your
changing.
behavior is changing, but
Yes.
you will not sense that this could be a symptom.
Yes.
So being aware what are the symptoms, I think that's the first step.
Okay.
Making sure.
So let's be aware of the symptoms. Okay. If you feel suddenly you're more happy being lonely, or your behavior is not normal like what you used to be, then it's something you need to be just self-aware of. Okay. What else, doctor?
Then, so basically, it is important, to make sure that you're not consuming too much of alcohol.
Yes.
You're not
Healthy
consuming
lifestyle.
too much of substances, having
Yes.
a healthy lifestyle, because in the long run they impact your mental health.
Agreed.
Then, what kind of coping mechanisms are you using? So, a very common problem that people have is emotional eating. So, are you using unhealthy coping mechanisms to handle stress? Stress is a part of life.
Yes.
But are you using unhealthy ways of coping with it? That
Yes.
again is something that you can look into. And then what could be good coping mechanisms can differ from person to person. For
Mhm.
somebody it could be a relaxing time out,
Mhm.
away from stressful situations. For some it would be talking to your friends and family who are understanding.
Yes.
For some it might be, I don't want to talk about it, I just need my time.
My time. Me
So,
time. Yes.
It depends upon the person to person. What
Mhm.
you find relaxing,
Mm.
taking some time out and doing those activities.
Right. I think they are very helpful techniques. I'm going to take a pause here and actually look at some of our comments. So we have a question, Ashifa and Munmun. Hi, thank you to both of you. I'm sure this is going to be a very informative session. But we have a question here. What are the techniques to reduce stress?
Okay, that's a really nice question. When we talk about stress reduction, we first of all we talk in terms of environmental techniques.
Mhm.
We talk about actual, physical relaxation techniques,
Mhm.
and then we talk about relaxation techniques that work on the cognitive level or at the level of your thought.
Okay.
So when we talk about environmental techniques, it is basically doing relaxing activities, being
Right.
in a place which you find relaxing, having a sanctuary, reading a book,
Mm.
or whatever you find relaxing.
Mhm.
Going to the spa also, if that's what is.
That's a good idea,
relaxing
right?
for you. So environmental techniques create an environment which you find relaxing and
Mhm.
spend time in that situation.
Yes.
The other one I said is physical techniques. Physical techniques would involve deep breathing exercises, pranayam,
Yes.
and other physical acts. Some people find running and exercising very
Yes.
relaxing.
Yes.
So those would be physical techniques of handling stress.
Right.
Third would be working at the level of cognition.
Okay.
Here, what is important is solution-focused thinking.
Mm-hmm.
So solution-focused thinking is that you have a problem at hand that is
Mm.
stressing you out.
Mm-hmm.
How do you reframe that problem? How do you reframe it? How do you reprioritize?
Mm-hmm.
And how do you cut off the noise?
Yes.
So, for example, you feel that you're really stressed about everyday, one cause of everyday stress is that
Yes.
when you're dealing with your children in the morning and getting them ready for
Yes,
school.
everyday struggles. Girls, if you're watching this, I am one of this. मेरे दो बच्चे स्कूल जाते हैं. You can imagine the stress between 6:30 to 7:30 in the house to pack their tiffins and get them ready, make sure they've had breakfast and get them out of the house. It is stressful every morning. No harm in saying that.
So what I'm saying is you must be already using a lot of techniques to handle it. For example,
I don't know.
prepping a day before.
Yes, I do
Prepping
that.
a day before.
Yes.
Discussing with the kids what they want for breakfast next day, so
Yes.
that in the morning it doesn't become like you've already prepared and then they say this I don't want to eat. Whatever.
Yeah, absolutely.
So basically we all use those tools,
Hmm.
but then first thing is to identify that okay, every morning this seems to be a struggle, and what can we change the way we are doing right now so that
Hmm.
it doesn't become a long-term thing. How do
Right.
we handle it? So basically solution-focused approach towards problems.
Hmm.
It might even involve at times, what we tell about stress reduction is that look at the situation, see if you can alter it,
Mhm.
see if you can avoid it,
Mhm.
see if you can accept it.
Okay.
So, what kind of a situation is it? Is it a situation that you cannot alter?
So
If
three
it's a-
A's approach, I will call it, right? So alter, accept, and
And avoid.
avoid. Okay, let's see.
So, if you know that in the morning, taking another example, if there is a particular colleague at your workplace who
Hmm.
kind of constantly gives you a lot of negative feedback,
Hmm.
and they're not in your team,
Hmm.
they're not in your team, and you can completely avoid them.
Yes.
You stop going to them with that kind of
Mhm.
kind of work.
Yes.
You start using somebody else's help, or you start doing something in a way so that you may keep talking to them, but
Yes.
you don't go to them with your work because you know that always leads to you end up feeling bad.
Yes.
So if you can avoid a source of stress,
Yes.
so when do you
Avoid negative people in your life, I would say. It's true. There are some people you don't get along with and you probably don't have to see them, right? So if you can, so I'll use my A here. Avoid negative people in your life. Okay.
And if you can't avoid, then you have to accept.
Accept. All right. So how do we accept them?
So accepting again would require, that's again a much more detailed discussion of mindfulness
Mhm.
and all those techniques where you understand where are people coming from,
Mhm.
how do you, so emotions, so mindfulness basically talks about how your emotions are, you can be a third spectator to your emotions.
Okay.
Your emotions come and go, just
Yes.
like all other sensations in your body.
Mhm.
So for example, the way you can see things around you, you don't emotionally judge everything you're seeing around yourself. You don't have to emotionally judge every thought that is coming to you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a technique. It has to be taught. It has to be learned over time. I mean, people who already have read about it would know that it really helps to calm you down when there are situations where you can do nothing about.
Yes, agreed.
You know, and you have to accept that this is the way it is.
Okay.
And that's the best way forward.
All right. Okay, so that's the second way we have. So avoid and accept.
Avoid, accept, and alter. So
Alter.
like you
Okay.
alter the situation, like the first
Yes.
example we discussed.
Right. Okay, so that's a 3. I think that's a great takeaway for me. I'm going to do a quick sound check, girls. We have a lot of people watching us. Can we get a quick hello if you're watching us, if you're enjoying the conversation? I'm going to, so we talked about some of the ways to handle the 3 A's, right? What if I know I have a mental health problem? Where should I go for help? How do I, reach out basically?
Right. So once you kind of have identified that there is something not, I need help now. The ideal way to go about it is you first meet a psychiatrist.
Okay.
Because a psychiatrist specializes in diagnosing and treating and making a treatment plan.
Okay.
So first you have to get your diagnosis,
Mhm.
then you have to get a treatment plan in place.
Right.
And then if the treatment plan is something that you and the patient, you discuss and make it. So you don't do it in isolation. The doctor doesn't dictate what treatment you have to take. They give you options that these are 4 or 5 options and we can use any of these modalities that you're comfortable with.
Right.
And then, so I think getting the right diagnosis is
Yes.
the first step.
Yes.
I have so many. Last week I had a patient who's so she had come for an anxiety issue, but her mother was undiagnosed bipolar.
Wow.
And it had
Okay.
such grave impacts on the family.
Yes.
Like the whole family. They
Yes.
never identified that the mother was bipolar.
Okay.
And it was only depending on the description she gave me, I realized that probably her mother is untreated.
Right.
And then we were able to get her into treatment and kind of
There you
start
go.
medications.
But I think एक ना स्टिग्मा है और एक डर है साइकियाट्रिस्ट को मिलने का. How do we get out of that? It's okay to go to a GP and tell him कि मेरा blood pressure high है, but it's a big stigma to come out of the house and tell my family I'm going to meet a psychiatrist. So
So stigma comes from fear and it comes from shame. Right? So when you say that we don't have stigma of medical disorders, I know people with diabetes who used to live very healthy lives and
Yes.
they were very ashamed when they got diabetes.
right.
They were in denial of the fact that I have
Yes.
diabetes.
Yes.
And you will see a lot of people when they reach their 70s or whatever and they get diagnosed, they are not able to accept the diagnosis.
Yes.
And they will continue, not
Yeah.
following the medical advice, not taking their medications. So it's not that only mental illnesses have stigma. Loss of physical health for somebody who has always taken good care of
Always,
their
yeah,
health,
agreed.
even that has stigma.
Yes.
So if you look at from the same analogy for physical health, for mental health, it comes with a lot of shame that how could you lose control over your own mind?
Yeah, probably, yes. I think that's how we've kind of grown up thinking, right? She's lost her mind, right?
Yes. So, but it's not about losing control of your mind. It's about being aware that something is not okay, and then getting the right help you need.
Yes.
If it has been scientifically studied
Yes.
that this is what depression is. These are the symptoms. This
Yes.
is the neurobiologically. These are the changes that you see in the brain. These are the chemicals that work. This is the kind of therapy that works.
Yes.
When you have such good evidence for it,
Yes.
for the illness, for the treatment, then why have you put this thing, that, okay, how did you lose your mind?
Yes. So I think we just need to change our mindset, right? That if I am seeing a psychiatrist or my friend is seeing a psychiatrist, there is no more a stigma. It's like going to meet a normal doctor, and I think this is the change we can all bring in our own mindset, right? Which is why we, IWG and Zivanza, have launched this month-long campaign of The Care. And I guess my next question, I'm going to take some stop and take some questions. How do we book a consultation with you, doctor?
Well, you can visit our website, zivanza.org, and you can also visit our page,
Yes.
Zivanza Network page,
Mm-hmm.
and we have links over there to book consultations. And we can also add we'll also add our link to this post.
Yes. So at the top of this post, at the top of this slide, I will also leave the numbers where you can reach it very privately. If you don't want anybody to know, they will keep it very confidential, very private. If you want to just have a chat with Dr. Tulika or anybody else in the team to book your consultation. And if you tell them you're from IWD, I will make sure they will do a very good job. So I have another audience question which I want to take is from Ashifa. So Ashifa is asking us, are there any proven tips to sleep better at night? And I think I can relate to it because what stress hota hai, right? Sara din you are kind of running around from one thing to another. So by the time you get to bed, it's like it's been a long day. How do we make sure we calm down and we sleep?
Well, so what I would like to tell is that यहाँ पे importance, one thing is that of course if you have a sleep disorder, if you have like insomnia or you have sleep onset problems or something, then you obviously need a proper evaluation. But overall for healthy sleep, what you need to follow is sleep hygiene.
Okay.
So sleep hygiene is basically you stop doing activities that disturb your sleep,
Okay.
and you start doing activities that promote sleep. Now what are the activities that disturb sleep? Caffeine,
Yes.
nicotine, or any kind of stimulant that you take. Don't take them after 5 p.m. So
Yes.
if you want to go to bed at 10 or let's say 11, you have to stop taking stimulating things after 5. If you're taking Coke at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, then it's going to disturb your sleep for the next 5 hours. You're not going to get. Or if you're going to a party,
Yes.
be mindful of what you're drinking.
Yes.
Take a drink without caffeine,
Right.
or so that
So no chai, coffee, and be mindful of Cokes and Pepsis also after 5 o'clock, right? If you want to sleep at 10. Yes.
Right. So that's fun. So avoid stimulants after 5. The second one would be if you are having light, if you're constantly stimulating yourself with light when you're trying to go to bed, melatonin generation will not happen in your brain.
Yes.
So your pineal gland at night, it secretes a chemical called melatonin. And to do that, it needs darkness.
Yes.
So if you have your phone screen in front
It
of
is,
you,
I think this is the most common problem for sure. I don't know, if you're watching us, say yes. If you watch, take your phone to bed. I do. I'm guilty of it equally. You know, मुझे होता है मैं सोते लास्ट के 10-15 मिनट Facebook देख लूँ, Instagram देख लूँ, अपना WhatsApp check कर लूँ. But I agree with you, it disturbs your sleep and I could have slept half an hour earlier than what it would have been. Yes.
so even if you're doing that, you dim the screen completely, or you use the blue light filter. So that's what I do.
You started getting yeses. So Ashita, I know you're watching your WhatsApp for orders before you go to bed. You need to stop doing that. You actually need to stop going on Facebook and Instagram, and I think that can help sleep a lot. Help all of us sleep a lot better. I'm in the same boat as you, honestly. So yes, definitely.
So I mean, light of course is a big deterrent to helping you sleep. So if your sleep timing is let's say 11 o'clock, at least 1 hour before, stop screen use. Screen could be your laptop. Screen is your phone and television also. So a lot of people say they have a habit of TV running and they go to sleep.
Yes.
Okay, fine, you have it. You're lucky that you get sleep like that.
Yeah.
It is actually a big disturbance in sleep. So that is the first thing we discuss about it. Are you in a stimulating environment when you're trying to sleep?
Yes.
Same thing goes with very highly emotional content and very sound-wise, very stimulating content. So if you're listening to loud music or if you're listening to exciting music that is full of energy,
Yes.
again it will make you more energized.
Right.
If you're listening to something very mellow
Calm,
and very calming, that can help you sleep.
Yes.
So that is actually going to promote your sleep. So the kind of music you listen to or the kind of reading you are doing. So if it is a very calming kind of a content, then you will that will help you sleep.
Yes. So I think nice, calm, quiet music, which puts you into deep sleep. That is.
Another very common behavioral or environmental thing that people do is they use their bed for everything. They eat there, they do their work over there, especially during lockdown and during work from home. People have developed this habit of doing everything in their bed. That kind of doesn't train your brain to go to sleep. So if you use your bed only for sleeping and for sex, then in that case this is my relaxing space.
Yes.
And for everything else, for your laptop, for your work, for your emails, keep a designated place in your room. You can keep it on the table, do it over there, and then come back. Or make a ritual. Make a ritual that even if you do work on bed, I mean,
Yes.
it's not always, you don't always have the luxury to do that.
Yes.
So even if you're doing it, make it a ritual that at 10 o'clock you will
Switch
close
it on.
everything
Yes.
and you will remove everything
Mm.
and then you will come to your bed. So you will clean your bed and then you'll, so that kind of primes your brain
Yes.
that okay, this is sleeping
it's
time.
the conditioning, right? And I
Yes.
think put your curtains basically, pura acha sa dark room kar, and make that environment for you to sleep. So Ashika, does that answer your question? I look forward to hearing if that answers your. I'm sure it's given you some good tips, which you and I both can use tonight for sure. I guess I wanted to talk about something about women and reproductive health.
Right.
How does our reproductive health affect mental health essentially? What is the correlation?
So
Do you see any correlation or no?
Yes, there is actually. So there are two group of disorders that
Mhm.
we talk about in relation to women's reproductive health and their mental health. One is the premenstrual disorders.
Okay.
So the menstrual related disorders. There's also the perimenopausal syndrome. I'll talk about that again. So the premenstrual dysphoric disorder or PMDD is a disorder where right before you start your cycle, you
Mm.
start getting severe mood swings,
Mhm.
mood fluctuations. Some women may even report suicidal ideation at that time.
Okay.
So the other thing that can happen is premenstrual magnification of pre-existing disorders. So for example, a woman who has anxiety disorders, who has
Mm.
depression,
Mm.
just before the menstrual cycle starts, before they start with their cycle, they might have a premenstrual magnification of symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
So the premenstrual period is a vulnerable period where the symptoms, psychiatric symptoms, can get exacerbated.
Mm-hmm.
The other period when women are at risk is the postpartum period.
Right.
So I'm sure a lot of you must have heard of postpartum blues.
Mm-hmm.
Postpartum blues are as prevalent as 85%.
Yes.
So almost 85% women experience postpartum
Mm.
blues. It is a low mood, low energy, and sort of feeling is not very excited
Yes.
about everything that's going on. It generally starts around a week after your delivery
Yes.
and stays for around 2 weeks.
Yes.
But it is a self-limiting condition and it
Yes.
gets better on its own.
Yes. Okay.
The more serious condition is that of postpartum depression.
Yes.
So if this postpartum blue kind of a picture starts and it doesn't get better by 2 weeks
Mm-hmm.
and it goes on like third week, fourth week and it's not getting better,
Mm-hmm.
then it's something that needs to be treated.
Mm. Yes.
So
And I want to touch upon postpartum depression because you talked about it. I felt it myself with both my kids. There comes a time in your life after like 2-3 weeks of delivery, right? You're feeling कि baby मेरा है नहीं है. I'm not feeling attached to the baby. That feeling comes. Plus you've kind of gained weight. You are fat.
Yes.
You've lost the old body that you used to have. So there's so many hormonal, so many physical changes happening that it took me a lot of time to come out of it, to be honest. So, and I think some people get help early, some people realize it later on. So, I can totally relate to that, honestly. I'm sure a lot of the women watching us will also relate to it, right? Because some of these things go undiagnosed, and family does
Yes.
not realize what's happening or support.
regarding postpartum blues, you would say it's a self-limiting condition, it will get better at 2 weeks, but even those 2 weeks, you're not able to relate to your child.
Yes.
You're not
Yes.
able to feel that affection that you should be feeling.
Yes.
And you feel so guilty about it.
Yes.
On the other hand, if you know that it is okay to feel like that, this is what happens. If 85% women are experiencing it, it is very common.
Exactly.
So there's no need to feel guilty. I will feel better in a little bit
Yeah,
of time. And if I don't, I have help.
Exactly. So I'll relate this incident. When my first child was born, the third night, you have that baby blues where you
Yeah.
just keep crying. I was in the hospital and I was crying all night and I did not understand what's happening. The second time how we did it better with my second child was I had warned my husband. I was like, I don't know, I did it last time and I realized it very late when I had read it. Second time when it happened, at least he was more supportive. He
Yes.
उसको समझ तो आया कि okay, this is hormonal, okay, it's okay to cry. Because पहली बार when my son was born, समझ ही नहीं आ रहा था कि कलर क्या हुआ है. Delivery ठीक हो गई है, you are fine, the baby is fine, but you are still crying. And it happens. And I think this is something which my mom did not tell me. She never told me that my delivery होगी तो third day पे this happens. This is something which is not discussed in our society, and I think that is what causes a lot of the issues we face, right? So I'm sure you see a lot of these cases coming
Yes,
to you.
so I was working when I was at NIMHANS. We were working in the perinatal clinic,
Hmm.
And really, I mean, the stigma is double.
Yes.
Actually, you
Yes.
know. So the stigma you face as a person with a mental health issue, and the stigma you face as a mother
Yes.
is double. So there's two directions of stigma there. So
Yeah, absolutely.
educating the family is very important, I think, and educating, knowing yourself also,
Yes.
so that you unnecessarily don't feel guilty.
Yeah, and I think that guilt kills you in a very different way. It's less. Most of the times, maybe the family is supportive, but you are just thinking, "Ki kya ho gaya hai," right? And this is not me, kind of a thing. But it happens, and it's normal, and it's hormonal most of the time. So not for us to blame. Very good. I think I have finished my questions, doctor. I know you have an exciting webinar coming up very soon. Can you tell our audience about the webinar so people
Yes.
can sign up? And I'm going to leave a link of the Zoom to sign up after this live. But if you can tell us, what are you going to talk about in that session?
So we have discussed in today's session about women's mental health, continuing the same theme of women and child healthcare. We will be talking about children. We'll be talking about how do you identify signs of any mental health issues or any issues in children. And I'll be talking about parenting. How do you make sure that your parenting is positive and it is proactive?
Amazing. So looking forward to that. I know some of you pinged me for the link also, and I've shared with you all of you, but we will share that again on the top of this live so that you all have it. With that, thank you so much everybody. We will leave the contact details for reaching out to Dr. Tulika and Zivanza Clinic, and if you want to reach out confidentially in person, you're very welcome to have the first consultation with her. Have a chat, and I think sometimes it's okay to come out of the house and say, I have a problem, or sometimes just say, okay, I just need to have a chat and let me see what's wrong. So with that, signing out, a very, very warm good evening to you all of IWB, and hope you have a good day.
Okay, bye.
Let's